Okay, let's go.
He wants to jump
1,000 cars. Sir, you have 1,000 cars.
I don't think I'd attempt to try this stunt.
Or we owe this horsepower to Uncle Sam.
Too many cars.
Car. You know, roses would be...
Like I put my beer belly on it.
If you can't immediately tell somebody how many cars you have.
You'll really give those uppity yuppies something to think about.
Stay on the bar. Don't go off the bar with your Bronco.
1980 Volvo horns, what's right?
Yeah.
I want the man's coolant.
And he's like, oh, I thought it'd be small. It's for a small car. And I'm like, yeah, but it's still an automatic transmission. They're never going to be light.
It's definitely going to have to crash.
Starting off with Brad buying another car.
That's the West.
Internet. You know, is this a Nigerian oil print?
I also wish you drove a tan Camry.
Anyways,
Anyway,
that's a
horrible,
very
horrible podcast content.
very
Talking about a picture.
inside joke.
It loves to be driven hard.
Welcome to Auto Off Topic. How are you, Brad?
Good evening, Andrew. What's going on with you?
Oh, just making some podcasts with you.
I mean, that's the obvious answer. Was there
It is the obvious
less
answer.
obvious answer?
Less obvious answer was I just finished a EAWRC rally for our esports team that's on our Discord. So
Excellent. And you finished dead last?
no, I'm early. It's run by another Discord called like Junior WRC. So it's like people across the world were racing against our team, and I'm in the we're running the 1600 cars from like the mid 2000s, that class. So only 3 people have finished and I'm in second. So really, I don't know, not too bad. We'll see how far it erodes over a week because they're open for a week. So
Oh, the road conditions change as time goes on?
no, I meant my positioning, how my positioning will erode.
Okay.
Will erode over a week, yeah.
Because that would be cool if the thing eroded over each individual person's time.
Yes, because so there's 2 classes. I am in the second tier, and there's a higher level. So the higher level technically gets on the road first, quotation marks on the road first. So yes, in the class that I race in, we have more road degradation because we are later on the road.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very realistic, I guess.
The game is really, really good, and they just announced that they're doing some DLCs for it. So mechanics are really good.
This is different from the rally game that I was playing before.
It's the same people. So EA Sports bought out Codemasters and the Dirt Rally games, and they just took a lot of those same people and had them make the EA WRC game. So like a lot of the vintage cars are the same, but this one has a Galant VR4 in it, and yeah, it plays really well. It plays really well on the wheel. It's kind of crazy because like I just did an hour straight, like 9 stages, or like 49 minutes.
And boy, are your arms tired.
Yeah. Yeah, that wheel's got a lot of torque. So, but no, it was super fun. And yeah, we'll see. There's like 50 people in there, but maybe 30 people run consistently every week. So we'll see where I land up. I think last week I was just outside the top 10. So,
well, I'll have to pick up this game once I have my setup put back together, which is planning on putting in the garage.
Yeah, and I will probably do some auto off topic club rallies,
especially as winter comes.
As winter comes, yeah. Because
which
right
is
now,
exactly when I don't want them.
Yeah, because right now it's a pretty big time investment to spend an hour playing a rally, and then if you have multiple ones, so.
Oh, for sure.
But
I think it's part of
anyway,
the reason I stopped playing before, but I need to figure out a better way to do it.
we try to do like a little bit shorter rallies, older cars. So, but anyway, yeah, that's what I was doing before I popped on the podcast.
Excellent. I was working, so I won't tell a story about it.
Yeah, because the old time difference.
Thanks to the time difference. Yep.
But I think I don't know. Should we just get into? Do you have a lot of project car updates or a lot on one car?
I have a lot of project
Or
car
truck?
update. Yes.
You want to just get into that, or
I
you
mean, we
want to
might as
talk
well.
NASCAR
It's
first?
It's what the people want to hear.
Yeah, we'll talk NASCAR afterwards
Yeah.
because it was a good race this week.
It was an amazing race.
Yep.
Super entertaining, crazy drama as far as points and everything. Like wild race.
Yeah.
But yeah, I teased that I was buying something, so I bought something.
Yeah.
So, well, as you probably know, there was a time period when I bought too many cars. And that time period was any time in the past 25 years. But I realized that I was kind of at a limit of cars in my life. After I bought the Mercor, which would have been what, November of 22? Or 23? No, definitely 22. So it's almost November 24. So that's 2 years. I have to double check now that it was November 22 or 21 because now I don't remember. Do you remember? I should remember. You shouldn't remember. Must have been 22. Anyway,
When you got the
for
Mercure,
argument, yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was 22.
because you came out here after I had it. So, yes, November of 22. I've confirmed.
Yeah, at some point in 22, I drove it.
Yeah. So probably you probably drove it 23. Anyway, so yeah, I bought it in 22. Now I haven't bought a car since then. So that's what, almost 2 years, which is for me a long period of time. But I also said to myself that I would not be purchasing any more vehicles until I got rid of some vehicles, because I was at like a full-on too many cars. I realized there's too many cars, too many projects, don't have time to get them all done. If I want to start getting things done, I need to start paring things down. And cue all of our friends saying, we've been hearing this for years. So anyway, I did put one caveat in that rule that I will not buy another car unless it is a first-gen two-door Montero, Dodge Raider, or 4x4 first-gen or second-gen Mighty Max. Now, I really didn't want a second-gen, and I wasn't really searching for a Mighty Max or a Raider Montero. But a friend of mine, when he heard my rule and what I was looking for, informed me, I think I might have said this before, but I'll tell it again from the get-go just because, that his father had one that I thought he bought brand new, but actually it was 1 year old when he bought it, so almost brand new. A first-gen Mighty Max 4x4. Now, I don't know if you've searched ever for one, Andrew, but they're not common. The two-wheel drive you can find pretty easily in a first gen, but I didn't want a two-wheel drive because if I was going to buy another vehicle, it was going to be so we could take it off-roading and go camping and exploring in the great state of Arizona. So I wasn't really digging, wasn't really ready, was going to wait till I moved some stuff. And then on top of him being like, I have one, I started talking to him about it, and it turned out that it was a 5-speed truck. It was an all-original truck in mostly straight, rust-free state in northern Arizona, in just north of Sholo, Arizona, which is not close. It's about 4 hours each way, but that's okay because it's not going anywhere. I didn't need to rush out and get it that day. And this was probably initially like a year ago. Now, probably shame on me for not getting rid of anything in that year while I was trying to make this happen. But the truck was at his father's house, which is the house he grew up at. And his father, at this point in time, only spends summertime up in Sholo, and he spends wintertime down in Gila Bend, which is down by Yuma, down like near Mexico. So it's 3 hours the other way from here. So it's like a 7-hour trip in between. So once he leaves the house in north of Sholo, he doesn't usually go back until the following spring. And his father wanted the truck out of there now, or seems like more his mother wanted the truck out of there now because it's been sitting there for quite some time, which we'll get into next. So he sent me 2 or maybe 3 pictures of the truck, and I was like cautiously optimistically excited because it was a 4x4. It is complete, and it was. So anyway, since there's a 7-hour drive in between, he wanted to get it done, and there was a break there. I apologize if this is
We had internet
switching
cut
up
out.
a little bit story wise because I'm trying to remember where I started from or where I ended. So
Yeah.
just explain why it is a weird. Brad already said that. Anyway, so I asked him to find out what the thing cost, what his dad wanted for it, and his dad came back with the magic
Oh,
price.
yeah. What's the magic price?
So, longtime listeners will know the magic price is $800. So, I have yet to have been screwed by an $800 car. So, you know what you're getting. You're not getting a perfect car. You know you're getting something that's going to require work. You understand that it's an $800 car. You don't go into it assuming that it's going to be a completely sorted, ready-to-go car and not cause you any problems, like some cars that cost significantly more than $800 and cause you problems. So I said, yeah, I'm in. Like, I'll take this truck. Going on 2 or maybe 3 kind of not great, not close-up pictures and hoping for the best. Because again, it's in north of Sholo, which is 4 hours each way. So it's an 8-hour round trip. And I've now committed to this thing that I've never actually seen. Not the first time. So it's fine. That part doesn't bother me. So big thanks again to Naomi's brother, Chad, because he has that Ram 2500 that I've used a few times now for rescuing my cars when broken or buying new cars. And he offered it up again. Maybe offered it up is the wrong word. He accepted my invitation to borrow his truck for myself again. And we rented a U-Haul trailer and decided to set up there this past weekend and pick up the truck. So, spoiler alert, I have a truck. Double spoiler alert, it's not bad. So, speaking with my friend Mike, whose dad owned the truck, he said, I know the front tires hold air. He said the rear tires are questionable. So bring either wheels and tires that fit, or give yourself some time to take the wheels off, bring them into town, and get a couple of junk tires mounted. So I decided to figure out what the bolt pattern was and see if I could find a set of wheels and tires to use, and I could, thankfully. Jordan had that High Ace van I think I've talked about on this podcast before. And a Toyota High Ace van has the same 6-lug bolt pattern as the Mighty Max, which is the same as the first gen Montero. It's the same as a GM from the 80s or 90s. It's that standard truck 6-bolt pattern. I think it's 6 by 5 1/4 or something.
It's probably 5 1/2
American standard, or 6 by 1 5 1/2, 5 1/4. I don't remember. I forget already. But it's the standard bolt pattern they all have. So thankfully he had a set of 4 wheels and tires that he had taken off of that van, and they would fit this truck. So I brought all 4 of them just in case. What I did not anticipate was, and I probably should have, that they use a tuner style lug nut, so I could only really get them just slightly more than hand tight on the truck. So that was a sketchy problem, but it's okay. Once we get to this place, or almost to this place, my friend says, when you get there, we get to a certain street, he goes, call me. He goes, so I'll know when to go down and open the gate. It's like a big manual gate. I was like, okay. What he neglected to tell me, which is funny, was that his father lives on a 40-acre compound that required 3 or 4 miles of dirt road travel, like class 4 dirt road travel to get to. Like if we'd gone in there in a 2-wheel drive vehicle towing a trailer, it might have been difficult to get in there.
Yeah.
It was not a simple process.
This sounds like getting the Cressida.
It was almost exactly the same, except way rougher of a road because it's not a city-maintained road. The other one was. It's just private drives, basically. So anyway, I get in there, and it seems it's a very similar scene to picking up the Cressida. And finally get there and see the truck, and I'm more excited now than I have been the whole trip, obviously. Put the wheels on, and then his dad goes, all right, I want you to put your truck at the bottom of the hill. We're going to push this thing, and we can get momentum down the hill, and you can go right up on the trailer, and it won't take any work at all. And I was like, all right, well, this thing was sitting for a long time. He's like, yeah.
Do the brakes work?
Since when? He's like, probably 2003, 2004. So I'm like, all right, so that's 20 years. Does it have brakes? He goes, I'm sure it does. He goes, even if it doesn't, the e-brake works. I know that. All right. So I get in the truck, and I pull the e-brake. It's connected to nothing. Doesn't do anything. I'm like, all right, well, there's no e-brake, so hopefully the brakes work. So we push the truck out of the parking spot, and on flat land, it's got enough to stop it. All right, this is the first time this truck has moved in 20 years and the brakes work. This is encouraging. So we roll it to the first little bit of hill and get some momentum. And I yell out the window, like, hey, I'm going to jam on the brakes now, just to make sure. So I jam on the brakes, and the brakes worked. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess this is it. We're gonna go for it. I'm gonna roll down this hill, and hopefully I don't rear end Chad's truck, go right off the end of the trailer. Also, this is the first time I've ever driven this vehicle. The windows haven't been cleaned in 20 years. I can't see anything. I'm trying to go down a hill and hit the exact ramps perfectly on a U-Haul trailer that are, not that wide, and make sure I don't go off to the side or miss the ramp or go too far. All right, here we go. So they just start pushing down the hill. I pick up some speed, jam it up on the trailer, and first try. Nailed it right in place. Hit the brakes. The thing stopped. All was good. So it could have been a disaster, but it wasn't. So we'll take it. So truck's in the trailer. It's all loaded up. All is well. Trailer at home, pretty much incident free. The only incident was I brought my jack with me, which has a bad seal. So I also brought hydraulic fluid with me. And the plastic bottle of hydraulic fluid, when going through the mountains at elevation change, exploded and covered the bed of the truck and I say Mighty Max, but it's a Ram 50 on the trailer with thankfully non-corrosive hydraulic fluid for a jack, like mineral oil, basically. So other than that, it was uneventful, but it was a full day for sure. Big thanks to Naomi for going with me and putting up with this. But on top of it, my friend's dad, who I've never met before, super cool guy. So lives on like I said, like a 40-acre like compound. Has lived there since 1975. Has collected what I can only describe as a very Brad DeSantis collection of cars on his property. I can probably say with confidence this is not the last car I'll be pulling out of that property. A little background, he's lived there since 75. He built the house himself while him, his wife, and their firstborn lived in a bus on the property. The whole house is off-grid. Has been since the 70s. It's never been connected to local electrical power. He's run solar panels since the 70s. And always just upgraded as time has gone along. He read a book in like 1973 about how to build an off-grid house and was like, bet I can do this. And he's been doing it for 50 years, excuse me. Super impressive place. He also builds ultralight airplanes and flies them. And the reason he has the two properties he has is because they're big enough that he built a runway so he can fly from one to the other.
Okay. What an interesting guy.
Yeah. Very interesting guy.
Those two things sound like those were things that I feel like were very popular in the 70s to build
solar power and ultralights.
Yeah,
maybe. But super interesting guy, and the whole property is littered with cool stuff. Some might look at it and say it's trash. Some might look at it and say it's great. But I mean, there was like a 71 Ford F-150 that's pin straight and perfect. Sorry, F-100, excuse me. I know a lot of our podcast listeners and friends are big fans of Isuzus. There was a four-door Trooper, first-gen Trooper on the property that's in impeccable shape, but it's got a cracked head, which I guess they all do. There's a 64 Rambler 400 station wagon, which is like a perfect north, high desert patina on it, which I was like, I would like to buy that from you someday. There are 4 Opel Mantas, 2 restorable, 2 project cars, 2 like parts cars. There's 2 Vegas, a first gen and a second gen. What else is up there? A Suzuki, I think they call it an LJ. It's the first Suzuki that was ever imported into the States. And they were imported by, it's not the first one, it's the model of the first one. They were imported by the same person that brought in Honda. And after they imported 250 of them, Suzuki was like, no, we don't want to sell these in America as our first vehicle. They're not capable of highway speeds and Americans. So we want to sell something else. So they pulled them out of the market after selling 250 of them here.
Weird.
One of them is up there, and I want it. I think it's called. It might have called an SJ. I don't remember what they're called. They're hard to even find any info on. I think it's like a first gen Jimny in other places in the world, but I don't know what they called them here. There was a name for them, just letters like number soup. But anyway, super cool. Nissan hardbody, typical thing up there. Just stuff everywhere. Motorcycles, dirt bikes, jet skis, boats, like you name it. It's on this property. Such cool stuff. Such a cool guy. I could see why my friend, who I've known for a few years now, is into the cars that he's into, because he got it from his dad, obviously. What I did not realize was that he grew up in an off-grid farm that's 5 miles of beat-up dirt roads just to get to town to get to the bus stop. So that's interesting. But yeah, super, super cool day. It was neat just hearing his stories and learning about his airplanes and the whole nine. And he was very excited to have somebody excited to buy the Ram 50 off of him, and instead of having to junk it. So I'll have to make sure that once I get it back up and running, I get it up there so he can see it back in its full glory again. So It doesn't run, obviously. Under the hood was what you thought was a tree.
Yeah.
You were like, "Oh, I didn't realize it had trees growing through it." And I was like, "It doesn't." It was a pack rat, so a big rat up there, and it was filled under the hood with nothing but sticks and evergreen tree and acorns and anything else the pack rat could find to build a little home. And obviously, with pack rats come urine and feces. That was also fully in effect under the hood. So, of course, any vehicle from that area, you have to be careful to take, proper precautions and wear proper protective gear because you don't want the hantavirus, which is an airborne virus that lives in like their feces and their stuff they leave behind. It was so thick under this engine bay that I don't know how familiar people are with the 2.6 Mitsubishi, but the distributor is off to the driver's side of the cylinder head, and it sticks out probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 inches from the cylinder head. And it was a solid flat mass of what looked like mud, but is probably just years of poop and pee built up around it, and then flush with the valve cover. And there was another similar mass in front of where the battery goes, and there was a rat trap with a dead rat in it that was completely skeletal.
It's a warning to other rats.
Yeah. Well, the other interesting thing about that is the truck is missing a grill. And he was saying that the dogs, for some reason, took particular interest in the grill. I was like, that's a weird thing for dogs to be interested in. And then I was looking at it, and the front edge of the hood has bite marks on it, like actual canine bite marks, and the front edge is peeled back a little bit. It's one of the main areas of body damage in the whole car. I was like, man, they were really chomping on this thing. And then when I found the dead rat right behind where the headlight housing was on that side of the truck, I was like, oh, they didn't care about the grill or the hood. They were trying to get to this struggling animal in a mousetrap. So that's probably what it was. So anyway, it stopped thankfully it stopped him from eating more of the inside of the truck, but made the dogs eat the outside of the truck. So I've been digging through it. I got that all cleaned up. Obviously wearing plenty of PPE, gloves, mask, basically a full hazmat suit in the driveway. Making sure I didn't put the truck out back where the dogs are so they don't have anything to worry about. Got it all disinfected the best I could. Used a lot of degreaser. Actually used a ton of WD-40 at first to get like any... The reason I used WD-40 was I was trying to get the valve cover, the air cleaner off. And do you remember on the carb Mitsubishis, they have that big wing nut that holds the air cleaner cover?
Yeah, as most carb cars do with an air cleaner over the carb.
Sure. But the Mitsubishi ones are slightly different because it's basically a 12 millimeter nut inside of captured inside of the wing nut. So it's not just like a wing nut. And it was stuck on there pretty good because the mouse also had one of those solid masses on top of the air cleaner. And I had to chisel through it to get to it. And then once I got to it, you can tell it was rusted, probably because of urine, because there's no rust anywhere else. So I'd sprayed WD-40 on it, and I noticed that WD-40 helped break up the mound of stuff around it as well.
It's a surprisingly good cleaner.
So I used it to kind of soften these giant mounds of grossness under the hood. And then I got to that wing nut, and as I'm trying to force it, I had to tap it with a chisel on the side and a hammer, and it broke the wing nut free from the internal nut. So the wing nut then was just spinning around the nut and not doing anything. So then I had to peel open the wing nut and to get a 12. And I still couldn't get a 12 millimeter on that internal nut because it had turned into not a 12 millimeter nut anymore. So it became a whole exercise in an hour and a half of trying to open up the air cleaner, but got there eventually. Took basically took two sides that were still 12 millimeters and opened it at a box wrench. Had to hammer it on to make it go in place, like a cheap. I used a cheap Harbor Freight open-ended wrench, and put a screwdriver in the closed end to turn it because there was no other way to get force on it. I couldn't get vice grips in there because of the remaining pieces of the wing nut. It was a whole disaster, but it's off now. But anyway, I noticed that it broke up those big mounds of gunk pretty well, so I sprayed everything in that WD-40. Chiseled it all away the best I could. Used a power washer, then used a greaser, and then power washer, and then different degreaser, and then power washer, and more degreaser. And it probably took a solid 4 or 5 hours of cleaning up under the hood. But I mean, you saw the pictures. It looks really good now. So you would never know that it spent 20 years sitting with mice living in it. So that's good.
Nice.
That's where we're at right now. I haven't put a battery in it yet. I started digging through the wires because there's some wiring damage.
You should pull the plugs and just throw some Marvel Mystery Oil down the cylinders.
Yeah, I probably should do that. I was going to check and see if the motor spun at all, but that's probably
just let it sit for a few days.
Yeah. But I was digging through it and trying to figure out, what wires were chewed. It doesn't look like a lot of them were. I think a big reason for that is that he lives in the woods up there, so there was tons of, because the mice don't eat the wires for sustenance. They eat them to make nests and whatnot, right?
They do it because their teeth never stop growing. So that it's literally
right, but they're always chewing on something.
Literally to wear their teeth down.
Right, they're always chewing on something, and part of it though is to help build their little nests with stuff. So they're pack rats. So I think there was enough stuff in the woods there, and he brought stuff into the car every day. Like I said, there were tons of sticks. It literally looked like a tree growing under there. I think he had plenty of other stuff to gnaw on, and he didn't really gnaw on much of the wiring. So I noticed there are, off the positive and negative terminals of the coil, there are two wires that have been gnawed, but I found the other end of those already. There's some sort of a solenoid that seems to be connected to the carburetor because it has that sort of end of carburetor, beginning of fuel injection carburetors that has way too many sensors and whatnot on it. And the wire to the O2 sensor is cut as well. So, but that seems to be all I can find so far that's cut. So I think as long as I make the coil wires good, the car should start. So we'll see. But one step at a time. I got to do some more digging in it, maybe after podcast. So hopefully have a pretty big update next week. And actually, you can come look at it in person.
Yeah, I can. Because I'll be out there. And I don't think the person we're surprising will ever listen to this podcast, so it's all right.
That's okay. This podcast won't come out until Friday, and they'll know you're here by then.
That's true.
That's why I actually had that thought before I said it aloud.
Yeah. So I also have a little project car update. I finally moved the Volvo.
Yeah, I was shocked and surprised. I didn't know it was happening, and I saw a picture. I was like, "Whoa, it's happening!"
Yeah, I don't know why I let it take me so long to do it. I don't know.
Because you've been busy with other projects that
I've
been
been
related.
Procrastinating on moving it because it's like, I don't know, moving a dead car from not your yard is like kind of an annoying task to figure out.
Yep.
But I talked to some people here, someone I used to work with. I was like, that person will know at the dealership I used to work at. I was like, that person will know who I can call to tow a car. Because I just didn't want to deal with calling it in as a roadside thing and then waiting 8 hours for them to show
3
up.
hours, yeah.
So yeah, this guy, it turns out your dad knows him too. He's local out of Peabody, does towing. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, I called him the week before. He's like, no. He's like, just call me the day you're ready. I'm like, okay. I was like, how much? He's like, $100. Okay.
Nice.
Literally went a mile and a half, whatever. Quick $100.
Yeah,
quick $100.
It's a little steep, but it is what it is. Yeah.
I mean, it was faster than what I could do it for. I would have spent
Yep.
more money.
It would have cost you $70 just to rent a trailer, so it's
Yeah.
well worth it for the effort.
And then
And honestly, I think most tow trucks are $100 just to hook up now anyway. So
trying to get the thing down my driveway on a trailer and trying to get it on the trailer. Like this was literally done in 30 minutes. So whatever. Yeah, I got to get it over there. I got it over there at my dad's garage. He was having some car club meetings, so the garage was occupied or was going to be occupied. So I haven't put it on the lift yet. I'm gonna do that when I come back. I'll roll it over, put it on the lift. That's the next plan, is to pull the drive shaft and transmission, and then put the car on the ground, and then pull the head, and then pull the block out.
sure. I mean, that seems like probably no more than a day's work.
Yeah,
on
but
that
I'll
car.
probably spread it out over a few nights of doing the transmission, the diff, not the diff, the axle, not the axle, drive shaft.
You get there eventually.
Yeah, and then I'll probably do the head first, so at least get the head sent out to a machine shop, or at least look at it.
Diagnose what's going on.
Yeah, I mean it's gotta go to a machine shop no matter what. So
Sure.
but that's pretty much what I did to that. And just in
Hey,
time
man, that's a huge step, honestly.
to start working on it in the wintertime. But
But it's fine. Your dad's garage is heated.
yeah, I could certainly put the engine together in the wintertime, and then I mean
Yep.
if the weather's decent, we can put it in. Like it's not, the car is very, very simple. Also you know what else I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the fuel tank, because did you ever pick up your fuel tank for the Colt?
I did. Yep.
Okay. What did they charge you for that?
So the base price was like $150.
Okay.
But since mine was so bad,
Yeah.
it cost me a lot more than that.
All right.
Mine was closer to $400.
Oof. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's
But
still,
I mean, yours shouldn't be that bad. It's the car was running recently.
yeah.
My Colt has literally not run since the 90s.
But I noticed, like, as he was tipping it, it was nose first down the trailer, there was fluid leaking out in the front that looked like clear. But then once it was parked, all I could smell was that bad gas varnish smell. And I was like, I think
It could also just be, I think that tank has a big rubber like piece on the front of it where the fuel goes in. It could just be the rubber itself is deteriorated.
Yeah, maybe. But I think it was coming out of the front of the car, out of the carb overflows, because the car was tilted down at like a steep
Oh,
angle.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Because the
Sure.
overflows are like also going to need work, because they're like dumping right onto the header.
Yes.
So yeah, and it just smelled horrible. So all the gas.
Basically, that carb style is designed to overflow like to the pavement.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to set something up that's a lot better than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it smelled terrible.
That's cool that it moved.
So
That's cool that it moved. Yeah. So I did. With my truck project, I did a little bit of research and chatting with some people that know these trucks. Very, very good friend of ours and former guest and Montero specialist, adventure driven design, Josh Mead. He knows these Mighty Max pickups inside and out, because not only is he a Montero guy, but he's also a Mighty Max pickup guy. So I was chatting with him about the plans for this truck in the future, and it's going to get a combination of a small body lift and a small suspension lift and like a 29-inch tire.
Yeah.
So it's going to go from looking like, it almost looks like a two-wheel drive truck the way it sits now, but we're just going to go with that classic 80s, slightly higher, slightly larger tire look to it. And I was looking at some things that you talk about gas tanks. I was looking up parts and stuff that are still available for it. Rather than sending a gas tank out, I can still buy a brand new gas tank for $100.
Oh,
so that's convenient.
Yeah, and you can get something like a BFG tire, because they do make a narrower 29, and it'll have that
Yep.
80s tread.
Yep. Yeah, it's gonna have a very blocky looking sidewall, and then like a very square profile, and then I need to decide what to do with the stripes on the side because it has factory stripes. So the truck is an 86, and at the end run, it's the last year of the first gen, and the end run they made a version called the Spring Special, and that's what this truck is. And the Spring Special got pretty much all the options and special stripes that identified it, and chrome grill and bumpers, or chrome grill and front bumper. So it has these kind of like gradient tannish brown stripes that run down the side. They look like alternating size pinstripes, but they're kind of worn. So I'm trying to decide if I want to just take them off and do something different or run with the worn stripe look. So not sure yet. The interior is tan and it matches the stripes, so it's kind of like maybe I should just stick with that, but we'll see. But plans have been hatched. There's a lot of plans for this truck, and Josh is nothing if not persistent with.
I would just buff it and see how it looks. And maybe
It's
run
very
it that way.
chalky right now.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I can bring it back somehow, but the paint is like, when non-clear coated paint gets old and just kind of you touch it and it goes in your fingertips.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like right now.
Yeah. You
So,
might just use that buffer and go for it.
yeah, I'll clean it up, see what happens, one step at a time. I wasn't quite done. Sorry. The only big negatives I've come across since working on it, it's very rust free, except on the fenders there are these Power Ram logos that were like super loose, so I took them off because I was going to retape them. But apparently the tape that they used at the factory retained moisture, and there's a big rust hole like 1 inch by 1 inch behind each one of them. So thankfully it's behind the emblems, so I can clean it up and rust mold it and neutralize it and just put the emblem back on. It'll be okay. But that's the only real rust that's on the truck. So overall, it's good. But anyway, now I'm done with the truck. I can move on.
Cool. Yeah, that's I guess that's finally some project car updates. We got something.
Yep, all it took was buying another car.
Yeah.
The blue Toyota should be gone this weekend.
Okay.
R.I.P. that project.
All right. Hey, sometimes you gotta move them along. I mean, it's going to somebody else that's gonna.
It's staying in the community of vintage Japanese car people out here. It's a friend of mine is buying it.
I know it's a Toyota guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he's got plans for it. So and I was given that truck, so I was like, I can't really sell it. But then I was thinking about it. I was like, I have probably almost $1,000 into it, so I need to recoup some of that money. So I'm selling it for the price of all the parts I bought for it.
well, it's the universe is making it right. It's giving you a Mitsubishi because you're a Mitsubishi guy, and it's giving the Toyota to somebody who's a Toyota guy.
Absolutely. So it'll be out of here hopefully this weekend. Although this is a busy weekend, so we'll see, but it'll be out of here soon because I am definitely, while still in the middle of garage building project, way over capacity.
Yep. All right. So let's do a little events before we get into NASCAR. This past Sunday, I went to the Linfield Cars and Coffee, which is fairly new. That was cool. It's like
Your pictures were neat because it was foggy that morning.
Yeah, it's like 10 minutes from my house. It was both foggy and wildfire smoke, so it was weird. But
it looked, the vibe was very. What was that one we went to in California at like the
Coastal
observatory?
Oh
No, the Griffith Park one.
Oh yeah. That was up in it's like Griffith Park Cars and Coffee or something.
Yeah, something like that. But it was the same. The vibe of like the fog rolling in. It reminded me similar of the early morning there.
Yeah.
With the marine layer there, but
yeah, that was pretty cool. There's some good stuff there. There's some some good 80s stuff and 90s stuff, and still still having all your traditional muscle cars, hot rods, that sort of stuff. So
It's funny because muscle cars and hot rods are less traditional for cars and coffee. Cars and
I-
coffee seem to be more obscure 70s, 80s stuff.
yeah, but I don't know. People are catching on. They're getting up early to go. You know, it's like that one at Marblehead's got more of a cars and coffee vibe, even though it's a nighttime thing. So,
Sure.
um,
You're going to be here for a shakedown, so maybe we can figure out a way to get down here for that.
we'll see. Because,
Yeah, I know you're busy.
well, I mean, that's the thing. So the next event that's coming up, right, is I'll be out there on Friday. It's the Prescott Rally,
Yeah, the day you're hearing this.
and there's the Park Exposé, which is going to be, I forget where in Prescott.
It's at a dealership.
I think it's the
A
Subaru
Subaru
dealership.
dealership?
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes
it's a Subaru
sense.
dealership in Prescott.
It is not that one. Do.
I got it right here.
Yeah.
The Prescott Rally Park Exposé and Car Show, 3230 Willow Creek Road, Prescott, Arizona, at Findlay Subaru.
Yep. So we'll be there with our buddy Josh and I don't know, another mutual friend of yours and Josh's, right? The bunch of cool
Yes.
vintage rally cars
Yep.
and all the competitors' cars.
Yeah. So the point of the car show is the competitors' cars and other vehicles that have competed in rally other places in the world, whether homologation cars or not.
Mm-hmm.
So our friend is bringing up, I think maybe his Alpine A310 or A110.
I was told an Alpine, a Delta.
Okay, so Alpine A110 is Delta Integrale Evo.
Yep.
And our buddy Josh is going to have the R4.
Yep.
I'm attempting to bring the Colt up there, but I haven't driven it in months, so we'll see how that works out. If I don't have the Colt, I'll just bring the Eclipse because Eclipse is rallied too. And there's some other stuff coming too that I'm unaware of. I think maybe a Padge Evo, but maybe not. Don't quote me on that one. Although by the time this goes out, it'll be Friday and nobody's going to listen to it and go anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah. Too late. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
sorry. Hey, it's cool things happening. Haha, sorry.
yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
And then
Most of our listener base is East Coast anyway, because I haven't lived here that long.
yeah, Saturday is the rally itself. I'd like to try to see some stages if I can figure that out.
There are no spectator stages.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just telling you, I tried last year. It was very difficult. I can tell you one place to definitely go if we want to try it Saturday.
all right, we'll see.
Maybe even Friday. I can get you in probably. We'll talk about it.
We're professional spectators, so
Yeah. Yeah. My hope is they don't yell at me for showing up and trying to do something after I told them I couldn't be there because I had a family event this weekend.
well, yeah, I wouldn't. That's not till 6:00 in the evening, so
For sure, but at the time I didn't know that, and I didn't want to time commit to volunteering at the rally and then have to not be there after committing to be there. So I told them that I had a family.
if we have to
thing
show up
that
and
weekend.
volunteer for a few hours, telling them we have a hard out, I would be fine doing that as well.
If it gets us on stage, that might be a good thing. So,
Because I was told, do whatever you want Saturday, just be at the place at 6, which it's in the same town basically, so it shouldn't be too difficult.
no, it's like 20 minutes away.
But anyway, I digress. That's what my plan is for Saturday for events. So
Okay.
it might be too tricky.
Well,
to
I'm
get
saying
down
worst
to
case,
Phoenix.
there's a shakedown that morning, and I don't know what time the rally starts on Saturday.
Yeah, but I'll be up north, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's only 45 minutes from here. We can figure it out. You come here, meet me here. We go to shakedown. Come back here. You go back up there. We go to the rally. We'll figure it out.
All right. Anyway, yeah, that's some cool stuff going on. Walkins Glen NASCAR. How cool was that race?
I mean, it was great. The whole race was great.
I know, it's funny when you see people that bellyache about NASCAR and road courses. I don't understand it.
Nothing
Maybe
to complain about. It's amazing to watch.
maybe because mid pack they're wrecking, but they'll wreck mid pack on an oval. So I don't know what to tell you.
Yep.
It's
Yep,
the
I don't-
same. It's
I don't-
literally the same people wrecking on an oval. They'll also wreck on a road course. So
Yeah, the difference is who they take out with them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And boy howdy did a lot of
Every playoff
car,
driver.
got wrecked or damaged. Like because my boy Ross Chastain got the pole.
He did.
Yep. He's been working with SVG, who they're technically not teammates this year, but they will be teammates next year. But
Sure.
it's like, they're talking about on the broadcast, like, yeah, they're not teammates, but they are teammates. Like they clearly did some feedback for each other because
Oh, absolutely, because they had the same results.
they led a lot of that race.
Yep.
And then it was a weird spin, uncharacteristic spin from Suarez on a road course that brought out a weird caution. And they ended up staying out longer. So that was the other thing. There was supposed to be a tire. The tire was supposed to wear out. It apparently did not. I don't know what
It did not wear out. No.
I don't know what Goodyear makes these tires out of. But I mean, if you're trying to sell people on tires that don't wear out, you're working. It's working, Goodyear.
Well, they were saying that what I heard was that during practice, the tires lasted between 20 and 25 laps,
Yeah.
which is not a pit window.
No.
So they thought that they were going to fall off and there's going to be huge competition created because of this between pit stops and strategy and the whole nine. There were cars out there running nearly the same lap times after 40 laps in the same tires. So that didn't come to fruition.
Towards the middle of like stage 2, when SVG and Chastain had old tires, they were out smoking everybody in the front 1 and 2. They were running like
100%.
Like they were like locked in. Like I was joking
100%.
in the Discord chat. They were like shake and bake. Like
Yep.
they were going for it.
So one of the stories I heard was that practice and race day are very different. Because on practice, you're just running a couple of cars. And the track eats tires up. When you're running a full pack of cars, you're putting rubber down on all of those same areas, lap after lap after lap. And it's effectively smoothing the racetrack. Kind of like when you use a piece of sandpaper dry and you sand it a lot and eventually it stops sanding anymore because it's full of the product that you're sanding.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem that's happening with
The track
difference
loads up.
between the track loads up with rubber and it becomes basically smooth sandpaper.
Yeah.
And they had run the entire Xfinity race the day before.
Yeah, and there's no rain.
And then there was no rain, and they ran the entire NASCAR Cup Series race the next day. So there's hundreds of laps times, 75 cars or more. And it just winds up building up the track with rubber. And, you're on a road course, every car is running essentially the same line. So that line is just building up with rubber and it's just, smoothing the track out and being that loaded up sandpaper. So you're not losing as much of the tire as you would be in like a couple car practice. So
They also added more rumble strips, and that did not matter at all.
didn't matter at all. They were still cutting right over them.
Like they put basically what's on the edge of the highway to wake you up or warn you that you're at the edge of the highway out on the outside of like turn 1, and they were just still as deep outside turn 1.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They were miles outside in turn 1. They did not care. And then even through like the bus stop, they're just like ditch hooking the inside edge of the turn to go around. So full on Fujiwara tofu delivery through the
and
bus
again, the NBC broadcast so much better than the Fox broadcast.
So good. It's so good.
They're
Lee
running.
Diffie brings so much to the table.
They're running so through the bus stop. The camera angle, amazing. It was like a high speed cable cam.
It was like the one they used to use to follow the ball in the NFL when they did kickoff.
Yeah. So just like super high speed panning, like running alongside the cars as they're going through the bus stop. It was awesome.
Yep. Yeah, and they had to count on that the whole time because their stationary cam got taken out in the first stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the first lap, huge wreck, but yeah, there was several crazy wrecks. Byron got on top of Kieslowski somehow
I
in
was
the S's.
really, really hoping they had an in-car view from Kieslowski's car to see how far into the car that tire went.
Yeah,
They never had it though.
but and then so anyway, we talked about that weird caution, and SVG and Chastain had to run long. Eventually, they came into pit and they went to the back, and they put on fresh tires. And whatever they had, the two of them had for setup, again, they were locked in. You watch them, they climbed right back up to the front.
Yep.
And knifed their way right up there. And, I think, Chastain ended up plateauing around like 5th, but SVG went right to the front. And I think he ended up, at some point, Chris Buescher ended up at the front. And you could, like, watching SVG run him down was like wild, right?
Absolutely.
And then who brought out the last caution? That
I don't remember. Wasn't it the one with the big one with talk about the Keselowski car?
Oh, I guess it was.
Wasn't that the last caution? Yeah.
Yeah, or was that one of the multiple cautions that brought overtime?
I don't know. Cautions breed cautions.
It got a little ridiculous at the end, and I guess that's probably what frustrates people. But it ended up there was like 3 or 4 restarts, so it kind of gave, there's definitely like a learning curve, and when you have multiple chances there, SVG finally figured out. He kind of pushed Chris Buescher on the last restart, kind of pushed him in the right rear, going into turn 1, got him a little loose. It wasn't like a dirty push. It was like, just like, I'm going to move you out of the way. Yeah, it was totally legit. And he got by him coming out of the turn 1 and up into the S's. And you're like, damn, he's got it. And he led for a whole lap. There was 2 laps to go, because when you're in overtime, it's like 2 laps.
Yep.
And
green white checker.
And they get around, and Buescher was still like moving along. He was locked in on him on the SVG.
Buescher reeled him in through the S's on the last lap.
Yep. And
he
then
came to within like a 1/10 of a second behind him or less.
Yeah, he was wheeling
in the S's. Yeah.
And then it forced it got under SVG, and he made a little mistake through the bus stop.
Yep.
And exiting the bus stop, Buescher paid him back with a little push. Like, wasn't dirty though, like just nudged by him, forced himself by, because SVG slowed up, and he took it.
Race
and he
over.
won. And it was like, well, I really wanted SVG to win, but that was legit, man. That was legit racing. Like, that is not
was great.
That was not dirty. That was like the way you should race. Like, if you, that is the way NASCAR racing is expected to be physical, where it's not.
And even at the end, SVG's interview and Buescher's interview, they were both just respectful of each other and happy they had how much fun they had. And SVG was like, "Yeah, I'm disappointed, but man, that was fun."
Yeah, and he went up to them afterwards. There was a on Instagram of him going up in the winner's circle, and they're shaking hands and stuff. And it's like that's the way it should be.
Yeah,
and where you look at like Austin Dillon's hit a few races ago,
it pissed off everybody. So
that was like ridiculous.
Yeah,
but a little bit of elbows up in NASCAR is the way it traditionally is done.
Yep. Yeah, moving somebody out the way is not the end of the world, as long as it's done in a way that doesn't put them in the wall.
If SVG had just spun him in the first corner, everyone would be like, "What the hell, man?"
Yep.
And then
sometimes you got to move him to get by him.
Yeah, but if Buescher, like if he was already loose and Buescher came up and just threw him in the wall, then yeah, people would have been like, "Man, that's like, what the heck?" So, and then I mean, SVG pushed real hard. He got into that turn 7 and was like trying to catch him, and then just got loose, and you could just see
Yeah,
like,
just
all right.
washed out.
And he was like, all right, I'm done, and just was
Yeah.
like,
Well, it was either overdrive the car and make it work, or overdrive the car and go wide and maybe hit the wall, but
and not
you're
get
already in
second.
second
So
anyway. Yeah.
yeah.
So he had nothing to lose at that point, so he pushed it as hard as he could.
And
the
I
car
think
was like, no.
yeah, he had old tire. I think the highest placed playoff car was like Chase Briscoe, like
Right.
5th or something.
Yeah, no,
It
it
was
was
wild.
it was a big mix up as far as playoff points go. So, and Bristol's gonna be nuts too. So, it's I dig the schedule that NASCAR put together for the playoffs. It's highly entertaining for sure. There's no bad tracks in the playoffs.
No,
Except questionably Phoenix.
yeah, I'm excited for next year though, because I've already got tickets to NHMS, and it's a playoff race. So
Yep, that's cool.
yeah, but anyway, yeah, I think that's a podcast. That was a good race. Oh, go back and watch the Xfinity race highlights. That was also really good.
Yeah, I heard that. I have not watched it yet though.
Yeah, I forget Connor Zilch, I think, the rookie. Guy
Yeah,
absolutely.
just got in the sport basically, or in that level of the sport.
Yeah, but he's got like an IMSA driver. 18 years old. Won 5 of 7 ARCA starts. Won the pole in the truck debut at Coda. IMSA class wins in 24 hours at Daytona and 12 hours at Sebring, 2024.
Wild.
And he's going to drive for Junior Motorsports next year.
Sweet.
But
Junior's actually driving a Xfinity car next week at Bristol, I think.
Nice.
Yep.
All right, cool. You can follow us, Auto Off Topic Podcast, on Facebook, Auto Off Topic on Instagram, Auto Off Topic on Threads. I've got some more grid life photos to share. I shared some other stuff. We've shared some Scale Autocast stuff. Working on some RC cars, and I'm a Race and Anger on Instagram and Threads, and send us messages to get in the Discord. We'll send you an invite. We've got some people that can, if you want to do EAWRC on our team, we can probably find a space for you, because some people take time off. So let us know in the Discord. And Brad, where can they find you?
They can find me all those places, and also at TSISS350. I have not. It's at Instagram and on Threads.
Yeah,
I did put a little teaser of the truck on Threads, but I haven't posted it on Instagram on the podcast page yet. So that will be coming now. This episode is going out. I'll have some before and afters of the engine bay, so come check those out. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right, cool. Keep cars analog. A Name of the Roses.